We went hiking at Ravens Rock State Park on Sunday. And I left my husband at the car and I went to the bathroom. When I came back, there was this woman on the floor, on the ground, in the grass, like doing some child's pose stretches and definitely looked a little bit uncomfortable. And then she got up and walked away. But my husband, he said, thanks, Summerlin. My husband said this woman had gotten out of her car, like totally grumpy, like back spasm, then was like trying her best to figure out how to make her back unangry so that she could go on a hike with her family. At which point the kid comes over and says, Mom, just walk it off. That's what you told me to do. I thought it was hilarious. I'm glad I missed the whole thing because I would have had trouble not saying anything. But it made me think, what would I do if my back were to hurt? And I've had back pain in the past, and I know when you're in that moment, it's hard to like make rational decisions because you're in pain. So here's like a 20, I think it's gonna be about 20-minute sequence of things that make my back feel better. And if you're having a bad back day, this could definitely be a resource. So come on down, and thanks, Katie. And we're going to start by doing a little bit of lumbar tractioning. So everyone asked me about those like inversion tables and things, and I think they're a tool, but they're not specific. So if you can find a way to make things more exacting to what you need, then that's going to be better than just a general stretch, although it's nice and relaxing is always good. So come onto your hands and knees with me, and I have a nice yoga mat. If you need a little extra cushion under your knees, feel free. You want to start by trying to find a neutral spine, so you're not rounded up, you're not arched, it's just right, as if you were standing up with good posture. And then walk your hands out, maybe 1 or 2 hand lengths away. So I'm probably about 1.5 hand lengths away. From here, think of lengthening your lower back by sitting sort of back into a chair. It's not quite a child's pose, but I'm trying to keep my lower back straight, and then ease off. So just rock back, ease off. And you can play around with exactly where your hands are, how far you go back. But I'm imagining them sitting onto like a low stool versus rounding down to my heels. Just like your cat or dog might do. You know, cats all the time just get up and stretch. You can just be a little more like cats. Then I think we'll all be a little bit better off in life. So keep just rocking back. When you feel a stretch, acknowledge the stretch and then ease off. Especially if you're feeling really stiff, don't be aggressive. Just find that fine edge of where you feel a stretch and then ease back off. All right, now rock it back and hold that final spot where it feels kind of stretchy but not intense. And take a deep breath into your lower back. Maybe sit back even more. Imagine someone grabbing my pelvis and pulling me back. From here, let's walk the hands over to the right a little bit. And the left hand is going to really reach long in opposition. I'm trying to pull my pelvis back up to upright or normal, but I'm going to take my hand and instead keep pulling my pelvis away from my hand. Maybe a little bit more stretch through my entire trunk now. Just hold and take a breath. And then let's go to the other side. So walk those hands a little bit to the opposite side of your mat. Plant the inside hand. And then find a stretch between your pelvis and that arm and hand. Just want to find that stretch. Take a breath. All right, come back to the middle. All right, let's try some cat-cows. Let this be easy, and again, just finding your comfortable range. If any extreme is bothersome, then certainly don't go that far. One more time. All right, let's transition onto your back. So once you're on your back, step one is relax. If you feel feel like your chest and head aren't comfortable on the floor, feel free to prop yourself up with the pillow. And then feel the back of your pelvis on the ground. There should be just the slightest bit of space or lack of pressure under your lower back. You know, that normal lower back curve. And then avoid tucking and flattening your lower back. All right, so keep that for a moment. Just take a couple deep breaths. And you want to use your feet to create that pelvic tilt where you're going to flatten your lower back. But it's your feet and your hamstrings doing the work, not your abs. They can stay relaxed. Press your feet into the floor, tip your pelvis towards you, flatten your lower back. And then from here, we're going to imagine there's more resistance than there really actually is. With against tension that you're going to create on your own, open your knees and rock your weight onto the pinky toe sides of your feet. It's like you're at the gym with that hip machine and you push outwards. And then relax your pelvis back to neutral, and then press your knees back in. All right, push your feet against the floor, rock your pelvis back towards you. Against imaginary resistance, open the knees, roll to the outside of your feet. And then release your pelvis, press your inner thighs towards the center. Do it one more time. Push your feet into the floor, rock your pelvis back. So you're creating like a lower back stretch. Press the knees open. Release the pelvis. And press the inner thighs together. All right, reverse. Open those knees. And rock your pelvis, like pushing your feet into the floor. Bring the inner thighs together. You feel like maybe your abs starting to work now. And relax your pelvis. Repeat. Open, push against the air. You have really heavy air at your house. Then push your feet into the floor. Rock your pelvis back. Bring the knees together. Knees off. So it's kind of a weird hip circle plane type motion. One more time. Open those knees. That may cause even more lower back arch, totally fine. And then push your feet into the floor. Flatten your back. And bring it back in. Cool. All right, from here, we do sort of a weird bridge type movement. Now open one knee towards the floor and keep rocking. You can push your foot into the ground to help you rock. And so the outside of your shin is on the ground. You may need to adjust where your feet are, closer or farther. And now by pushing your foot against the floor and your shin against the floor, can you squeeze your bottom glute and really pressure both glutes? So they're going to feel different. And just slightly levitate your pelvis off the floor. So what you should feel is maybe a stretch in its top hip, definitely some work in the bottom hip, and likely also some work in the top hip. Everything is happening here. You come back down, return to the center, other side, open your knee, keep rocking until you can make contact with your shin. Press your foot into the floor, and then levitate your hips off the ground. Stretch that top of your hip, squeeze your glutes, take a breath. And then come back down. Let's do 2 more sets. Come back to the middle. Rotate to the first side. Point your shin on the ground. Press your shin and foot into the floor and levitate your hips with your glutes. Find that stretch and breathe. Usually back pain and stiffness comes from lots of tight muscles pulling on your back, and it's just like, has enough. You need to open everything up. Come back down. Return to the center. Side 2. Open the knee. Keep going to that to make contact with the floor. Push against the ground and lift your hips. Hopefully it's getting easier by now. It feels great, then maybe you can keep going beyond the 3 sets that we're going to do together today. You come back down, return to the center, 1 more set, rotate. Press against the ground, lift your hips. think you find that nice length through the entire top side of my hip and torso. And walk down. And last one, open that knee, rotate, and lift. Can you lift a little higher than you did the first time? Can you breathe maybe a little bit easier? And relax. Once you're back in the center, walk your feet a little bit wider. Just do an easy knee drop side to side. If it feels good, you can stay in one direction. And as I drop, I am thinking about linking that top side again to find a similar type of stretch sensation. Then I'll just moving through to that motion to get the blood flowing again. Okay. So now let's come back to neutral. You use a little bit of space under your lower back. I'm not pushing my back against the floor. And kind of breathe. And this next one's gonna be less is more kind of thing. So lift your leg up to roughly knee over hip, and with the heel of your hand, press up and away at the end of your thigh. So imagine creating a bit of a traction feeling in the hip, but what you should notice is that your core is now looking up, core and hip flexors. If you've been sitting a lot, long car ride, and they get really stiff on you, I can pull on your lower back. So by warming them up, we can then stretch them, and then we'll give your back a break. Okay, let's switch sides. Pelvis stays neutral, spine stays neutral. A light upward pressure against my knee. If you feel like your abs are bulging out, you can't breathe, you start to sweat, and you're definitely working too hard. So less is more, light is good type of movement. Think of it just as a gentle awakening of your deep core muscles. Switch sides again. And push. 3, 2, 1. Switch sides. Knee up. Hold and press. 3, 2, 1. Switch sides. One last set. Keep that knee up. Press. 3, 2, 1. Switch. Last one. And press. 3, 2, 1. Woo. All right. Step your feet wherever is comfortable. Lift your hips up into a full bridge. And we're just going to do 3 of these. Think of lengthening your legs away from you. And then starting at the top of your spine, roll down one bone at a time. Creating space through the entire back of your spine. And at the bottom, relax. 2 more. Lift, lengthen, and then articulate down. One bone at a time. The slower the better. And once more, lift, lengthen. Even once I pulling with my feet, the hamstrings are going to engage, and that's going to allow me to better articulate through my spine and be really supported with my feet and hamstrings. Oh. All right, what you could do, let's get to a piriformis glute stretch. So cross your ankle over the knee. Grab that bottom thigh, pull it gently into your chest. Now, for starters, allow your tailbone to lift off the floor just to take a tad bit. And then once your knees are in towards your chest at a comfortable spot, can you then lower your tailbone back to the floor? You can kind of straighten your spine, maybe even like stick your butt out. Take a breath. And then pull it back in. Just to a comfortable spot. Let's repeat. Hold those knees in and then press your tailbone down. I feel a nice stretch at the bottom of my glutes towards my hamstring area. One more time. Pull it in. And then kick down. All right, now, this can get a little fancy, a little more yoga-like. I'm going to grab my ankle, my top leg, straight as is comfortable. And with this top ankle, I'm going to place it on the top of my leg that's down on the floor. And then this top knee, lower it down as far as it will go. You might feel things somewhere around your hip joint getting a good stretch. Maybe IT band, maybe it's the front of the hip, depending on how low you can go. So as I hang out and breathe, usually my knee can go a little bit lower. I'm kind of short and stubby, but long-legged folks tend to really get that knee farther down. If I did this more often, I'll get better at it as well. All right, bring it back in. All right, side two. Go to that piriformis stretch, ankle over knee, grab your thigh, hug it in. And lift that tailbone up off the ground. Hug your knee into your chest. It means your lower back is going to flatten. You're going to lose that lower back curve. Then, challenge the stretch by pushing your tailbone towards the floor. And ease off, hug it back in. Hold your knees where they are. And then again, lengthen tailbone towards the ground. Hopefully it gives you more stretch. One more time. Hug those knees in, lift the tailbone. Now for the most part, I'm trying to keep my knees pulled to my chest. But as I lower my tailbone, you can decide how much you want to try to keep your legs there, if you want to give it in just a little bit. Just good for you to say hello. All right, grab your ankle. And then lengthen the other leg down. Pull your leg up into your hip crease. Not to hold my ankle, you can hold the top of your foot, like by the toes, but I find the ankles better for me, my ankles. And then lower your knee away from you as far as it will go. At first, it doesn't go anywhere, and then the more I work on it, the lower I can get. I'm definitely feeling into my hamstrings after all the hiking I've done the last few days. IT band. Take one more good breath. Ease off. Okay. Then flip over onto your tummy. How do you guys feel? Okay, depending on how your quads feel, we'll see how this goes. Start by just relaxing, doing a few breaths. And see if you can breathe into your lower back. Hopefully you've heard me say this before, but I feel like this is a pretty crucial life skill. And it's easiest to breathe into your lower back when you're on your tummy. You can't be done in any position, but this is the easiest to feel it. So start with finding that breath, and then I'd like you to maintain a sense of length in your lower back. And if it helps, go ahead and help your back lengthen by tucking and pressing your pubic bone into the floor. All right, can you keep that length in your lower back and bend the knee? If you feel cramps, you may want to flex the ankle. And try out the other side. Notice the point that your back or pelvis starts to shift, and that's where your quad flexibility is being challenged and is creating tension in your back. So you should be aware of where that is. All right, assume that you can grab your foot, you can lift yourself up, grab your foot, and then try to find that length in your lower back again as you pull your heel towards your hip. Create a little bit of tension in the stretch. Press your foot into your hand. Keep your lower back long, tucking your pelvis, and pull your foot towards your hip. One more time. Press away. Now for lots of quad stretch. Tension in the quad. And pull it back in. Bonus points if you want to flex your foot, but you keep your foot there. Oh, so hard. Okay, side two. Grab your foot, pull it into your hip. Then you lengthen your lower back, ground your pelvis and your bum to the floor. And if it feels good, push away. Find the tension in your quad. And pull your heel towards your hip. Still breathing. Okay, once more. Push away. 3, 2, 1. And pull it in. Bonus points. Flex your foot. You can keep your foot right there as you let go. And lengthen. Cool. All right. So that may have actually made your back a little bit more archy if it was really stiff. So let's go back to some more lower back lengthening. You can put your feet on the wall. I want to use a chair for the moment so that you can see. Or you can use your couch, a bench, what have you. Just keep your feet roughly to a spot where your knees are over your hips. This is a great spot to breathe, especially if you want to then come a little more supported with your legs. But we're going to start with just the feet on the surface or the feet on the wall. And put your hands between your knees and squeeze your knees together. You feel your inner thighs working and stabilizing. And then we'll do the opposite. Hands on the outside, push out. This doesn't have to be like crazy hard. If you have long arms, you can keep your head down. And then repeat, press inwards. So I have my hands like knuckles together. Squeeze it in. And then push out. All right, so I typically do this on the wall. There's advantages to each, and I feel like I can relax on the wall and push against it. On the chair, I'm going to feel more hamstrings, which has benefits as well. So I want to push my heels against the chair so that I can tip my pelvis and flatten the lower back. Think like we did for the bridge, where you lift in and roll back down. This is a similar type of spine articulation movement. And then come back to neutral. Push your feet against the chair and rock back. And as I rock back, maybe you can lift your tailbone off the floor so that you feel like your lower back is on the ground, but your pelvis is starting to lift. And then ease back off. Each time you do this, let's go a little bit higher. So push with your feet, tip your pelvis, flatten your lower back. Then lift your pelvis while keeping your lower back grounded. Then allow your pelvis to continue lifting, and maybe you can peel only one bone off the ground. Pause and breathe. And then come back down to the start. Repeat, we're going to add one more bone each time. So push your heels into the chair or the wall. Tip your pelvis back. Lift your pelvis. Lift one bone of your lower back. Lift 2 bones of your lower back. And then reverse. Place that bone down. Place the next bone down. And then roll over your pelvis. Now, if you're not sure if you're lifting 1 bone or 2 bones or 3 bones, no big deal. It's a concept. And as the more you do it, the better, the more fine-tuned you're going to get. All right, let's do it again. Tip your pelvis. Ground through your lower back. Lift the pelvis. Lift 1 bone. Lift 2 bones. Lift 3 bones. And then roll back down. You can certainly keep doing this and adding more bones. And as you do that, if you want to continue doing that, I'll say find where you're the stiffest and then work through those sections. But let me give you another idea. Let's shift to the wall so you can see. So now I'm going to roll up the same way with my pelvis. 1 bone, 2 bones, 3 bones. And now imagine your thighs are like train tracks. And you have a train on each train track, but one train is going to go forward of the other train, And trains won't go in reverse, I guess, but imagine the other one's going backwards a few feet. So that I have one knee higher than the other, but they're still parallel to each other. And then switch that up. So now lift one knee higher than the other knee. And as you do this, notice if it feels like you're getting a nice stretch on one side of your lower back compared to the other. And if you like how that feels, pause and breathe. Let's do it. Switch again. And switch again. Come back to neutral. Both trains are even. Then roll back down. Oh. All right, let's return your feet to the floor. Let's do one more little more strength-focused movement. So cross one ankle over your knee. And let's go back to that idea, continuing on the idea of moving one bone at a time. Now I'm going to do that into a twist. My arms and my chest are heavy, they're the anchor. Allow your pelvis and your legs to rotate off to one side. Got that? Pop on that one. So once you're plump over into a stretch, starting at the top, try to articulate your spine back to the ground, one bone at a time. I'm definitely using my abs here to sequentially pull myself back up to my starting position. I'm going to do it 2 more times. Allow my knees to, with control, roll into the stretch. On this side especially, I feel it all the way through my abs into my hip. And here we go. We're going to roll back and move from the top to the bottom. Now, there's definitely difficulty in sensing the true articulation, but I can still move with control from the top to the bottom and get a sense that I'm moving my ribs, my lower back, and my pelvis. Once more, rotate away. So as I twist, I'm finding space, and I'm going to use that space to help me articulate more. And return, using my abs to pull me back to the ground. Okay. I definitely feel better on this side than the other side, so I'm going to even it up, of course. Ankle over knee, twist. Find a good length through that top side. And then from the top, pulling my abs in. Try to find the ribs to the ground. I'm thinking of grounding the lower back while seeing the pelvis and legs. 2 more. Twist. Pause. Feel the length, feel the stretch. And slowly return, one bone at a time. Last one, twist. Pause, take a breath. And slowly return. All right, we're technically done. I will encourage you to then find a position of comfort, whether it's here, to hang out and breathe. I'll give you a few options. If you like one and you have time, just stay put. So if you walk your feet a little bit wider, just drop your knees in towards the center. And then you can let your arms rest by your side or reach them long. Spread your shoulder blades apart and then just kind of a lazy hug. Lazy hug across yourself. So everything is open in the back and then just relax in the front. This is a nice place to hang out and breathe. Recovery pose, so to speak. You can prop your whole legs up on your chair or the couch. Or, being on your hamstrings, get up close to the wall and just let your legs be supported by the wall. If you have tight hamstrings, you're certainly not going to be as close to the wall. If you want to have a little bit of open flop or soft knees, that's fine too. This takes a lot of stress off your lower back. The last option would be to lie on your stomach and Put your hands under your head and keep breathing into your lower back. At least 5 breaths. And one of these poses would be a great starting point. All right, hopefully everyone feel a little bit more loose in their back, more relaxed. As always, if something doesn't feel good, don't do it, because there might be something unique to you and your body that wasn't in my body at this time today. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm always here. And come back to this if you're feeling crunchy in your back and see if it gives you some relief.